Hello and welcome. I am your host of What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? Author Karen E. Osborne. I have 5 novels out. The latest is Justice for Emerson. I am so glad that you're here. This is a space for readers and writers to come together and talk about books. So I am very interested in chatting with my next guest, Bill Holmes. Hey, Bill.
Hey, Karen.
The reason I'm so intrigued, first of all, his books have great titles. Also, I don't know what a metaphysical thriller is. And that's what Bill writes. He has a series. He has 2 books out in the series that he's going to tell us about. He has a third one coming, which he's going to tell us about. But he's going to start by telling all of us what is a metaphysical thriller. Like, tell us what the genre means.
The genre is it does exist, although it's kind of hard to find it. But what it basically means is it's a thriller, so it's fast paced, it's kind of actiony, but it has a lot of metaphysical underlying themes. So think the Celestine prophecy, something along those lines. Even some of Dan Brown's work could kind of fall into the idea of metaphysical thriller. The Matrix could be a metaphysical thriller.
Oh, those are good examples. That helps clarify things. Excellent. Thank you. So let's start with the quantum gate was the first in the series, right?
Correct. Yep.
So let's start there. Tell us a little bit about the premise and when you're telling us about the setting and the premise of the book, uh, let us know how that one. Well, you decide how you want to tell it. I just
Well,
want
okay.
them to be
Let's
interested in the next book, but I don't want you to give away all the
No, I don't
secrets.
give away too much. No, of course not. I will say that the quantum gate, when I was very young, that's just a child, I discovered my mom had books about Edgar Casey, who was a clairvoyant psychic back in the 20s.
Mm.
And I was young, I was inquisitive, and I started reading them. And he talks about this idea of a hall of records, this repository of ancient knowledge for everything that's ever happened to humanity or ever will happen to humanity exists here. And that really intrigued, a 12-year-old boy. And
Mm.
so much so that I've always thought about it my entire life. And I even played stories of myself finding it, growing up. And so the quantum gate came from taking those years of stories in my head and turning it into a fictional novel. So it starts out, the premise is that a quantum physicist, very, very successful up to a point, and then went through terrible tragedy, lost his wife. His daughter and him got estranged because he kind of abandoned his daughter during this time. But he became obsessed with the Hall of Records and finding it, and his ideas of consciousness affecting reality from a quantum perspective got him kind of laughed out of academia. So we set this all up, and he's lost his best friend, his mentor. He's lost his wife. His daughter has pretty much abandoned him. He gets a letter from his dead mentor that's been dead for 2 years, telling him that he needs to go to Egypt, and he needs to, he's got to find this thing and kind of pursue this. And he's done it most of his life. So that's where the book starts. And the daughter, who's an astrophysicist herself, but very skeptical, doesn't believe anything you can't measure, um, decides to go with him, not because she believes, but because she wants to keep him safe. She's concerned about him. And so they journey out to Egypt, and that's where the fun begins. And so, she has to go through this massive awakening of there's more to the universe than I thought I knew. And he has to go through a lot of redemptive and kind of coming to grips with his own guilt about what happened with his wife, what happened with his daughter. And their journey is really trying to discover and understand this Hall of Records. And I don't want to say much more than
Wow,
that.
that's really cool. I have a friend who she wrote a book called Dead Egyptians,
Mhm.
and there's a library where everything exists Yes,
Yep.
and only these dead Egyptians
Get
can
access into
access
it.
that.
Yep.
Yeah, I have to introduce you to.
Yep.
Okay, so Quantum Gate came out,
Yep.
and you thought it can't stop here.
Well, I kind of had an idea for a story arc, so I created this idea of what I call the universe of possibilities. So I have the quantum gate is sort of like a small slice of an overall universe where a lot of things are happening simultaneously, and there's a bigger story arc. In fact, the Quantum Gate series, which I call the Ascension Chronicles, that's a series. I have another series that's coming out, takes place in the same universe with interacting characters between both series, and then a Pinnacle series that basically has both sets of characters addressing something even bigger and more, challenging than either one did on their own. So there'll be
These
nine
are in
books
your head
altogether.
or these are written?
These are no, these are not written. These are all in my head, but I have all the notes. I've written about 300 pages of notes about the lore of this. I've even designed my own language associated with it to kind of give it as much a good solid feel to it as I could.
Wow. That is very cool. So the second book is called Echoes of Atlantis.
Correct.
And
And I don't want to give too much away on that one, but I will say that the
tell us a
Echoes of
little bit.
Atlantis refer to the memories of past lives from Atlantis that the main characters have and use to help them resolve a very significant threat that's erupted within the world.
Now, are these the same characters or different characters?
Same characters, but there'll be some new ones introduced, but the same basic three characters you saw in Quantum Gate, yes.
Very cool. Okay. So let's start with Ethan. He's your main character, right?
Yes. Yep.
So tell us what you love about him. What is he like? Give us a real sense of him that he's sitting down with us.
Ethan is he is like an aspect of myself. He's I mean I've studied most sciences at the graduate level, but I've also been a avid student of metaphysics and the mystical most of my life. And so I've always come to believe that both of those things are complementary as opposed to antagonistic to each other. And
Hmm.
Ethan represents that. He represents the synthesis of he was a quantum physicist. He was top of his game, but he dared to kind of cross over into the realm of the unseen and bring those two things together. And that's what I admire. That's what I like to do. And so he kind of represents my ability to do that in fiction.
Oh, and you said that it's the same three characters. So the
Yes,
other one
there's
is the
three.
daughter,
The other was a
right?
daughter, and the third one is Lila, who is somebody you meet early on in book one, and she is part of a secret society that's been protecting the Hall of Records for thousands of years.
Hmm. This is very intriguing. And then there's a new one coming out, right? The
Yes,
Light Within
the light within
Shadow.
shadow. Yes, yeah.
Also, tell us about that one.
Well, the end of Echoes is there's a lot going on in Echoes. Echoes is sort of I consider Echoes to be my Empire Strikes Back kind of book. And so the third one is kind of diving into some things that are a part of our society that we've always wondered about. I've speculated about what they could be, and I'm kind of revealing lore. Even by the end of the third book, you won't know everything. And so I'm revealing lore, and that's going to be a big conflict. There's new characters introduced. My main character from my second series, which is a young adult, kind of a Buffy meets Stranger Things series. He'll be part of this series as well. He'll be needed to help with this as well. So
So cool bringing characters in and out
yes,
of books, That that is something I've not attempted yet. I did just a little bit,
yeah,
but that sounds like so fun to write, to
it
bring,
is. It is.
yeah, to bring
But very
characters in.
complicated because trying to track all the plot lines for the two series to
Yes.
make sure they don't conflict with each other has been a challenge.
Yeah, and also keeping all the voices straight,
Yeah, yep,
right?
yep,
Everybody's because you gotta keep the voice that was in the first book,
yep. Right.
has to be the same voice at least, even though they
Yep.
matured and
They
changed
change, yes, yeah. I mean,
and grow.
Ethan's your, scientist, mystical scientist. Jack from my second series is a 16-year-old kid who's just snarky and, it's your typical teenager. And those two are very different characters.
Your bio that that there was something you wanted the books, and besides entertaining and being a thriller, but there was something you wanted your readers to experience or think, tell us a little bit about that, what you were hoping by the time I finished the third book.
Right.
How have I changed?
Yes, I'm a firm believer in, and for my fiction especially, that I want to entertain and inspire. So I want people to, after they read it, to kind of just do that, like, huh, that's an interesting way of looking at things. I never thought of that before. And because I put in so much reality, so much real mystical, metaphysical knowledge in them, I don't throw stuff out there that's 100% made up. It might be massaged a little bit to fit the fiction that I'm writing about, but it's well-known basic types of metaphysical lore and ideas. And so I put a lot of reality, quote unquote reality, from the real world metaphysical groups and things into my fiction to make sure that, I mean, if you read about Edgar Casey in my book, he was a real guy. He really existed. He really did write about the Hall of Records back in the 20s.
People will learn, and you've already gotten everybody watching going, I could hear them. I could hear all of them. You've got them thinking already. Uh, So, so while you were writing all these books and there's 40 years of study and all of that, did the process teach you something about yourself? Did you uncover, just like you're uncovering all these things in your books, did anything come out of you that you were surprised or you noticed or
Well, I mean, the biggest thing was the fact that I actually wrote two books. I didn't think that I was really able to do that, but I did that. But I think one of the bigger things was I got to explore the different archetypes in my characters, even in my antagonist. And I got to see parts of myself in all of them. And so that was a very interesting thing to see, the parts that are both things you would really embrace and love, and parts that are like, oh, that's a little bit interesting, but I see it. I see it in me, and I see it in that antagonist. So it kind of gave me a perspective to see myself in sort of a fractured lens of different characters, which was a bit interesting.
yeah, that's very cool. I like that. Yeah. Can you show us? So you might have to unblur yourself just for
Yeah.
a minute, but we want to see those beautiful covers. They're so intriguing.
Yeah, and I apologize. I'm redoing my office, so it's a little messy, but hang on. Let me go ahead and
We don't
reblur,
care.
unblur
We're
this
just
stuff.
happy to be with you.
All right. So let's see. This is the quantum gate. Whoops. The quantum gate
Oh,
cover.
yeah, very
And it's
nice.
the second cover. I had another cover on it, but I didn't like it, and I changed it pretty quickly. And then this is Echoes of Atlantis.
Oh, I like that one even better.
Yeah, I like the
That's
Echoes cover, and the one that's coming out for the new one, I actually like as well. Though it's not quite as, it has a. If you see the cover and you've read the two books, you'll know exactly what it means.
so this is what are you reading? What are you writing? So was there a book in your or an author that had a big impact on who you are as a writer?
I would say, I mean, a lot of authors have, but I would say that I'm more of a, I mean, I probably have in my library here at home 1,000 volumes. And I read a lot of nonfiction and a lot of
Mm.
fiction, but I have always loved the books that blur those lines. So I love the Celestine Prophecy. I read a book many years ago that was written, I think, in the 50s called Initiation, and it was a story. It was a story told as a fictional story, but it was actually memories from a past life according to the author. And so it had that kind of metaphysical, not quite sure, real, not real aspect to it. And I loved that. I loved what it was, how it conveyed information, how it conveyed ideas. It was just wonderful. So I kind of have favorite books, authors. I mean, I love Joe Dispenza's books on the nonfiction side. I'm a big fan of a friend of mine who I read his book, Brian Hill. He wrote a wonderful book called Venus Rising about a cop who's a humanistic astrologer, which I thought was a brilliant combination. Because he does that kind of, it's kind of similar in my vein as that metaphysical thriller thing. Dan Brown, of course, I love Dan Brown's work. He does some great stuff there too. So those are kind of the big ones. I mean, recently, like I said, I reread Initiation again recently, and then I read some nonfiction. I read a book called The Big Leap. I read that just before I started publishing because it was a good book to understand how we limit ourselves and our thoughts, and I thought it would be a good thing to read before I venture off into this
Say
publishing
that
arena.
again. That so it the big leap. So what is it? What
It's a
did
book
it
that kind of talks about how we tend to limit ourselves
limit
mentally,
ourselves?
right? And
Yes.
so and set these glass ceilings that we don't even realize. So I thought it was a great book to read prior to jumping into something brand new. That's right. Yeah.
Yes, yes, we do. It's so easy to limit ourselves. I can,
Yep.
I don't think so. What would happen?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
all of that. And sometimes we wonder, are we worthy? Are we good enough? Are
Right.
we
Right.
enough? Yeah.
Yep. And when you
We
get a bad review, that
humans.
hurts.
And isn't that funny too? You could have all of these great reviews, and then
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
get this one bad
Yep.
review and you obsess about it.
You obsess about.
Like,
Yep.
they didn't
Exactly.
get me. Why
That's
didn't
right.
they get me?
Yep. Yep. And I've been through that roller coaster a few times, but it's okay. I mean, I've got a lot of great reviews and people love the work. But every once in a while, you get a bad review. It's like having somebody kind of criticize your kids. I mean, it's just you don't like it.
Somebody write a one-star review for my historical fiction, and her comment was, it was too sad.
Well, that's an interesting way to put a one star on there for that. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
okay, it made you sad.
Yeah.
One star.
One star. Yeah. Yeah. I had a person give me that, and he basically said, there was not enough science. There was too much woo woo. And I was like, well, that's kind of the point.
Clearly, there are people who our books are not for,
Absolutely. And I
and
totally
there's
get
nothing
that.
wrong
Yeah.
with that. It's
Nothing wrong with that.
okay.
No.
So, guys, everybody watching or listening, because we're also on Apple and we're on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, my website. So, wherever you are watching or listening to this, you can find Bill's books. You can find them on Amazon. You can find them in Barnes and Noble. You can find them in your independent bookstore. You can find them in the library. If you don't see them, you know the drill. If you don't see them, what are you going to do? You're going to just ask. Just ask, and they will get them for you. And that makes us so happy. It
Yes,
makes
it
us
does.
very, very
Absolutely.
happy
Yeah.
when you ask. So, Bill, besides being able to go to all those places to purchase your books, where can they find out more about you, what's going on, when the new book is coming out, all of that?
Basically, my website's the best place to go. It's simple. It's billcombs.com. I have preview chapters for some books. I've got all the books available either through Amazon or my own store. I'm even doing digitally signed ebook copies now for some of them, just to kind of provide a little bit extra there for folks. And everything you need to know about me. Plus, I have about 15 short stories. Some of the short stories take place in the same universe, and they actually provide a little precursors to some of the books themselves. So everything I write tends to kind of it's all part of one web.
Cool. So people can download for free short stories.
Yeah, they're free for anybody who wants to just browse them.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's awesome. And
yeah,
guys, what a great way for you to get a taste of Bill, get a taste of his world. And then of course that's going to make you want to buy all his books. Now, one last question I have is that do I have to read the books in order or obviously it's always better,
it's always better.
but
Yeah, I would read
but
them in order. Yeah, I mean, I think for the Ascension Chronicles series, you want to read them in order. The thing that I'm trying to wrestle with is the other series. So, there's in my own mind is an order about how to read them, and I'm trying to make it so that a person can go through the one series fully, and then the second series fully. And while there might be some overlap on the timelines, it's still going to make sense.
This is awesome. Thank you so much, Bill, for joining us. This has been a delightful and eye-opening conversation. I really enjoyed it. And I know all of you guys did too. So when you're back in touch with Bill, and I know you're going to be in touch with him, go to his website. Please tell him that you met him on What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? Until next week, everybody. Bye bye.
Thank you, Karen.